real quick.
That's such a weird number.
There's been, wasn't like, I don't want to say a lot. Was it Derek Gore? Was Derek Gore 40?
That sounds familiar. That sounds about right. But come on,
man.
Is that the best we can do at 40?
Hey, I told people from Jump Street this was not going to be, we really needed y'all to help out. This is where y'all make your voices heard. You really shine here. Otherwise, it's just going to be me hitting Google for
It's like a fullback number, or maybe a linebacker, maybe.
We're in a weird range now. We were like the high 30s to like low 40s. Those aren't your best athletes on the team.
These are fullbacks.
Chiefs coast to coast. Aaron Ladd here in Kansas City. Mark Gunnels out in LA. Steven Serta behind the board. I'm hitting retweet really quick here for y'all that are rocking with us on the video portion. 6 o'clock on Wednesdays every week, bye week, don't matter. We here breaking down what the Chiefs are trying to do on the road to Arizona. Mark Gunnels is smiling face to face, cheek to cheek. It's NFL playoff time. And
best time of the year, man.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting. He's like, I can't believe the playoffs are finally here. It's time.
What are we gonna do in the offseason, man? I can't believe this. We're so close.
Why you doing that, man? Why are you bringing down the joy?
No, I'm getting sad, man. Everybody's getting sad. Like, I can't believe the season's gone by so quickly. We were just talking who's gonna be running back 1 or 2 or 3. Here we are.
And here we are on the heels of Super Wildcard Weekend. We'll break down some big matchups in the AFC and how they can potentially impact and how they do impact Kansas City's matchup in the divisional round. KC also working and securing a wide receiver of the future potentially. We'll talk about how John Ross could figure into Patrick Mahomes and the offense next season. And then a change up in Vegas. Mark doesn't want to go to Vegas anymore, but we still got some picks for you, and we'll take care of you on that super mega playoff slate to kick off the year. But we love making y'all part of the show, and it all starts with our voicemail line and our review line, 816-514-1267. If you've been rocking with us here on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network, a lot of the other shows have been getting reviews too. The AP Editor Show, extremely popular. Pete Sweeney pushing for 1,000 reviews on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network, and he got it. So he had to eat the cake live on air. Did you see that, Mark?
I did see that. That was hilarious. That was hilarious.
We got to get you to do something like that. We got to come up with some incentive to, like, so if we reach a certain mark or a certain threshold, Mark will shave his beard or something like that.
Whoa! Wow, that's wild. I don't know about that one. We got to figure something else out.
No, that ain't the one. That ain't the hit.
That ain't it.
No matter what it is or where y'all do it, we'd love to hear from y'all. If it's on Facebook, if it's on YouTube. I see Ryan already rocking with us here on YouTube. We got time making part of y'all in the show at the end of the episode. We'll get to y'all. If y'all have questions, comments, criticism, or concern, throw them in, and we love to make y'all part of the show. Let's just jump right into the recap, man.
Mahomes avoids, throws. He's a magician.
Chiefs recap.
So it's the Chiefs beating the Raiders, sweeping the Raiders in 2022 to cap off the regular season in Week 18. 31-13, the final. The Chiefs win 14 games for just their second time in club history. Mahomes goes 18 for 26. Doesn't get the record. Mark Gunnels was gunning for Mahomes to get the record and really didn't even come close. 202 passing yards and just 1 touchdown. Kind of a quiet day for Mahomes overall. Jarrett Stidham, on the other hand, for the Raiders. A lot of mistakes for him. The stat line is 22 for 36, 269 total yards, a touchdown and an interception. Also, Josh Jacobs ends up being the NFL leading rusher. He gets the rushing crown in 2022, had 45 rushing yards for the Raiders. This one really not very competitive. Not really one that you're taking a lot from. I think kind of going into this game, and we do make predictions every week on arrowheadpride.com. I said, hey, it matters how Kansas City gets it done. trying to clean up some things from some close victories, and really they win this one going away, Mark.
Yeah, and I do think you can take something away from this game because the fact that we saw what we've been seeing all year, that the Chiefs played down to their competition. It didn't really matter whether it was the Texans, right? Or, the Seahawks game was kind of close, right? So I do think it did matter, like you mentioned, in your pregame prediction. And the fact that they dominated from start to finish was very impressive to me. It started from the first play of the game, from the first pass completion, right? The deep bomb to Justin Watson. That set the tone for the game, in my opinion. And then the offense looked smooth. I was actually surprised to see at the end of the game that Mahomes only had 202 yards. I felt like he was really, really good, though, even despite the low yardage. Maybe because some of the plays were splash plays and it felt bigger than what the actual yardage total at the end of the game was. But he was very efficient. Thought the run game was good. The defense, obviously, shout out the defensive line. They finished second in the league in total sacks. That was a lot of dialogue we've had throughout the year about adding maybe another pass rusher before the trade deadline and things of that nature. Shout out to George Karlaftis, who really came along the second half of the year. Obviously, Chris Jones, who, in my opinion, should finish second in Defensive Player of the Year behind Nick Bosa. I think when you're at the defensive tackle position, you get 15 and a half sacks. That holds a lot of weight. That's Aaron Donald type stuff right there. So he deserves to get a lot of recognition for that award. So, yeah, I'm really, really impressed. I think it's good going to the bye, heading to the playoffs to get that mojo, get that dominant win on both sides of the football, and even special teams played a clean game, right?
When's the last time you could say that?
Yeah, so let's not forgetting something. So all three phases, I thought, played really, really clean and efficient football.
Yeah, you mentioned Chris Jones and his Defensive Player of the Year resume. Finished the year with 15 and a half sacks. That ties a career high. 2 forced fumbles and 4 passes defensed. He also, Kansas City had 6 sacks on the day against the Raiders. I'll clarify what I meant by can't take too much from it. To me, the Raiders kind of packed it in. Jarrett Stidham, is he an NFL starter? I mean, probably not. Kansas City, while it was more about what they did than the opponent they were going against, I guess is what I'll say to that one. We needed to see a clean game from all the units. Would have liked to see Mahomes get closer to the record, of course. But when this game was out of hand and you start to do some of the fun stuff and the ring around the rosy and all that stuff, that showed to me that Kansas City was more about getting their ducks in a row than whoever was going to be on the other side of the field. And to me, I liked the creativity of the Arctic Circle or the snow globe or whatever. If you're rocking with us here on video, it comes up now. The purpose is to disguise that it's a direct snap and give the defense a lot of eye candy. The game not in any doubt or the game's not hanging in the balance here. This is something that you're adding a little style points on. Mark is smiling here, so I already know where I think he sits as far as this right here. But honestly, man, this is something that does get you in trouble sometimes with other locker rooms. And you heard it coming out of Denver a little bit. I'm sure Max Crosby, somebody over there who extremely competitive guy, loves to attack the quarterback and takes a lot of pride in what he does. He sees something like this. I'm sure he's not very happy about it, but Kansas City's committed to having that creativity and having some fun doing it, and we saw it on full display in Week 18.
Yeah, and you heard what Andy Reid said. These guys come to him with ideas, and obviously he has the final say. He has 50%, so he gets the final vote. But I could just imagine all the type of things that they send to him, and probably a lot of it gets denied, right? I would imagine a lot of stuff gets rejected, but he approved this one. And Mahomes actually said they had this play in last year. They just didn't have the right opportunity to use it, so they brought it back now. And I can see why, and I get it now because I'm heavy on Twitter and social media, and if I wasn't a Chiefs fan or from Kansas City, I can see why people really dislike this team. Because if somebody did that to my team, I would be like, these guys are arrogant, they're cocky, but I don't think they look at it that way. They look at it how you said. It was a disguise to get a competitive advantage. But I can see why it would come off that way to others, but they're looking at it like, hey, we're doing this. You don't know where guys are at. We're going to line up really quick and snap it. Like, it's in a competitive advantage while having fun at the same time. But I don't think it's to show up the opponent, even though it may come off that way.
Yeah, I think if you run that play 20 years ago, maybe a defender feels a certain type of way, and Mahomes gets a little bit harder than he would typically. Guys get tired of hearing about the Chiefs, man. I remember when the Chiefs are at the height of their power right now. We've talked about this on this platform before. This being the golden era of Chiefs football. It shouldn't be this easy. You shouldn't look like you're having this much fun. Like, it's a double-edged sword a little bit. Just as many people love you as maybe don't. I don't want to use the H word, but when I see something like this and I see the reaction, I love that Chiefs Kingdom has fun with it. And of course, it was in this Week 18 game where, really, I mean, this might be the only thing that you really remember from this game ultimately. But I just try to play devil's advocate sometimes, even though I'm rocking my KC gear for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, I was about to see that. I was like, okay.
Hey, you just play all time. Don't say I don't do it. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Because you'll come in here with the full pom-poms cheerleader vibe. You got your 15 jersey on or whatever. So I'm trying to match your energy, Mark Gunnels.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's obviously going to be the most memorable thing of this game. But I'm not going to forget the Mahomes shovel pass touchdown to McKinnon either. Because how about McKinnon, man? He's a guaranteed touchdown every single week at this point. I mean, it's unbelievable. I think I saw a stat where he tied, LaDainian Tomlinson for the most receiving touchdowns for a running back.
9 in one season. Yeah, I believe.
On that, but I think I saw that today. So, I mean, just the unbelievable tear he's on right now. This is his 7th year playing in the league, 9th overall because he missed a couple years due to injury. So a guy that's had that much wear and tear, especially at the running back position, shouldn't be this productive this late in his career, to be honest with you. So he looks like he's super fresh. They do a good job of not really using him in the first half of the year. Obviously, you had CEH then, so it was a little easier to kind of, rest him and not give him that much wear and tear. But ever since then, man, he's been a touchdown machine every single week. And outside of Kelsey, you could say that him and Mahomes have the best chemistry on this team, because when Mahomes is scrambling, the scramble drill, he seems to always be at the right place at the right time, especially in the red zone.
I was going to mention that. I tweeted that out today, but 6 straight games with touchdown for Travis Kelce. Had 12 in the first 11 weeks. And maybe Jerrick McKinnon kind of absorbed some of that role specifically in the red zone. You talked about him tying that LT record, and Ryan, who's rocking with us on YouTube, chimes in, says McKinnon leaking out in the flat will be a bigger priority for opposing defenses in the playoffs. Curious to see what opens up for Kelce and the wide receivers. It's been there. It's been there. It seems like this whole back half of the season, and Kansas City has found different ways of disguising it, found different ways of, hey, we'll put him in at a direct snap and he'll be the quarterback in this play, or we'll move him in motion and jet sweep and get him a little running start off the line of scrimmage, and your defense has no time to catch up, or your linebacker has no time to catch up. The chemistry is obvious. And you have to salute McKinnon for putting himself in the right position to be able to succeed in this offense, because I wonder, and I'm curious, where Kansas City would be without him, Mark. It's a scary proposition to think of, and that's probably one of the bigger parts of the blowout. I would also consider the AFC West sweep, which we mentioned as a possibility going into this game. Now it's officially official. Kansas City goes 6-0 in the AFC West in 2022. Talked to Nick Bolton about this after the game and said, hey, a lot of chatter going into this season about Devontae Adams coming in the division, Russell Wilson coming into the division, new head coaches, Kansas City losing one of the premier wide receivers in the sport. And here we are on the heels of Wild Card Weekend talking about a 14-win team that has once again earned the 1 seed in the conference, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, like you always say, don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. This is not normal. This is not going to last forever. So Chiefs Kingdom needs to really bask in this moment and just cherish it, man, because you can get caught up in it, and before you know it, it's over, right? So definitely cherish the moment, man. It's very special. Before the year Everybody was talking about how this is going to be the hardest division of all time.
You said that too, Mark Gunnels. Don't do that. You called this one of the greatest divisions in all of NFL history. Don't make me go back and find a tweet because I know you had it out there somewhere.
All right, because I know you'll find it in 5 seconds. I said. So here's
the question. Let me ask this though, from a talent perspective and all that, but what went wrong, or I guess what went right for Kansas City to be able to run the table and sweep through one of the most talented divisions ever put together on paper?
Well, it's a combination of things. I think it's a combination of injuries, but I think the biggest thing is coaching, because that's one thing the Chiefs had the major advantage in heading to the season was coaching, because you had Brandon Staley, a lot of question marks about his decision making. Obviously, Nathaniel Hackett, first-time head coach. Josh McDaniels, he failed before as a head coach. Why is he even a head coach again? So these were real questions that people kind of ignored because of the talent. They thought maybe the talent could be so overwhelming that it could overshadow the coaching deficiencies. And that obviously wasn't the case. And then obviously you have the advantage as quarterback as well. Even though you do have Justin Herbert, who I think is a top 5 quarterback. So I don't think the gap is that wide as far as the coaching gap is. But Russell Wilson was supposed to still be a guy. Wasn't the same guy. Derek Carr, top 15-ish quarterback. He got benched his last couple of weeks of the season. So, just a lot of things didn't go as planned. But I think the ultimate thing at the end of the day was coaching matters. And the gap there is huge. And it showed in the standings and the records in the AFC West this year.
I'm going to give you a little credit. This is from Mark A. Gunnels on Twitter from September 12th, 2022. He says the AFC West won't be the gauntlet everybody thinks. The Chiefs and the Chargers are miles ahead of the other two teams.
You're going to have a clean sweep. You're to pack me up. Look at you.
I got to give credit where credit is due. Mark Gunnels did correct that. A couple more records for Kansas City, kind of just going through stuff. From Chiefs Raiders week 18 and kind of the wraps of the regular season. How about Nick Bolton in the season that he had for Kansas City? He is the single season leader as far as tackles are concerned. He passed Derek Johnson's record, 180 tackles in the season for the second-year linebacker out of the University of Missouri. Derek Johnson goes on Twitter and says, "Congrats on breaking my record. I've been watching you all season long, bro. Not surprised at all. Love the way you stay alive to be a part of almost every play." Cool to see that from Bolton, a guy who's maybe not the most vocal leader, but has absolutely shown with his play style that he can make an impact on defense.
Yeah, 100%. This is a guy that flies around the field. He seems to always be around the football, obviously reflecting in how many tackles he's had this season. There's been a lot of question marks before about, he's not the best in coverage and he's not the most athletic guy, but you can kind of mask some of that when you have the instincts. And he has the high IQ. Like, the guy knows football. He's like a quarterback out there. He has the green dot for a reason. And that's a big responsibility, especially for a second-year guy, to have that responsibility this early on in his career. So that's a testament to how knowledgeable he is and how much he understands different formations and what teams want to get in and where the ball is going and things of that nature. So shout out to him, man. And hopefully he gets probably won't get some all-pro love, second pro, all-pro, or anything like that, because he didn't make the Pro Bowl for some reason. But I do think he does deserve some type of recognition for the season that he's had.
I saw he's a finalist for the Butkus Award given annually to the league's best linebacker. Let's talk about some wide receivers. First, it's the numbers in on Marquez Valdez-Scantling's first regular season in Kansas City. And this is a guy that's been very, very popular or click-worthy, trend-worthy on social media. 81 total targets, 42 catches, 687 and 2 touchdowns. How about you grade MVS's first regular season for me, Mark?
You want a letter grade or 1 through 10?
Let's get a letter grade here and give a little context to why you're giving that letter.
Okay, I'll give him a C+. He did about what you would expect. This was a guy in Green Bay that was never a first or second option. He's around his career totals per year. But the reason why I would probably give him a C+, which is, not, it's average, a little bit above average, depending on how you look at it. He had a lot of drops. He had a lot of drops this year, a lot of Jekyll and Hyde. And the funny thing is, it seems like he'll catch the hard ones, but he'll drop the routine ones, right?
We kind of heard that coming into his tenure in Kansas City.
Yeah, and you listen to Packer fans, they were warning Chiefs fans on social media about that all offseason, and it came to fruition once you saw him play a full 17-game schedule. So, I mean, it depends on your expectations for him, though. Everything is subjective, right? Because I didn't expect, these gaudy numbers. I didn't expect 70 catches, over 1,000 yards with 8 touchdowns. I didn't expect anything like that. I expected pretty much where he's at. So, I think C+ is about fair.
I would agree. I'm in that high C, low B range. He's your third option realistically. I know there's a lot of chatter about the misconnections between him and Mahomes and them not being able to really be on the same page. I'm hitting yellow light Ladd on that one. He's not being cut. He's not being replaced. He will be in Kansas City next year, and he's a valuable part of what they like to do as far as stretching the field is concerned. Juju Smith-Schuster goes 78 catches, 933 receiving yards, which I think hit an incentive in his contract, and 3 touchdowns. I think he's absolutely vital to what they like to do on offense, especially in that short to intermediate range. His first season in Kansas City, to me, has to be seen as an A. I wonder what you think as far as Juju's first year in KC.
I'm going B+, so a little bit below your A. I think the last few weeks he's kind of been quiet. I'm not sure if that's scheme related or guys are just covering him better. I'm not 100% sure, but he hasn't been as effective as he was the first 7 or 8 weeks when we were thinking, wow, for guys that haven't played together, they seem to have really good chemistry between him and Mahomes, right? But overall, he's been really good. I mean, like you mentioned before, he's a guy that can move the chains. He's the second, I guess you could say, Travis Kelce in a way.
Yeah.
He's a big body receiver. He's kind of like a tight end in a way. I mean, the guy is huge. So I do think he holds value there as far as a possession receiver. And he's had a couple of splash plays here and there, especially with some surprising yak. He gets you some yards after catch every now and then as well. And another thing that we don't talk about when we talk about receivers, and we need to talk about it a little bit more, he's been really good blocking.
Yeah,
like he's a really good blocking wide receiver as well. Like he sets the edge on the outside for guys in those jet sweeps and those trick plays and reverses and things of that nature. He did it on the Jerrick McKinnon game-winning touchdown play against Houston. Remember when they said he basically said to him before the play, "Hey, I've got you. Come behind me." So his blocking is very valuable as well that people don't really look at that much for receivers. So I think a B+ is fair.
Blocking isn't sexy enough, and I think most average fans and most average media members, we don't really look at that as something that we can easily quantify. But you're right about that, and that skill is something that is extremely valuable for Kansas City. I think he demands high teens as far as going into this offseason, asking teams. I mean, if you take away the concussion game that he missed, and you can basically count a game and a half that he didn't play, 1,000-yard receiver here in Kansas City, and be interesting to see what he garners in the offseason. One more wide receiver, and it's a reserved futures deal according to NFL Network. John Ross coming into Kansas City. He was the 9th overall pick in 2017. Still 27 years old, not eligible for any of the postseason play this year, obviously. But I think this is in the words of Mark Gunnels, this is a Brett Veach special, Andy Reid special. You bring a guy who's got a first-round grade, maybe hasn't developed or fully reached the potential in the pros. You come in, you kick the tires here in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes leading the offense, and see what happens going into training camp in next season.
Aaron, I want you to find somebody that loves you as much as Brett Veach loves former first-round picks. I mean, this guy loves former first-round picks. And you know what? I love it too. If I was a GM like Brett Veach, I would do it too because they're all low-risk, potential high rewards. And the thinking is these guys were first-round picks for a reason. I mean, they can't be just complete scrubs. And if you're thinking, well, if I can get him into my situation under Andy Reid, the best play caller, the best quarterback, with the best tight end, a top 5 offensive line, hey, if it doesn't work here, it's not going to work anywhere. So that's the thinking. I understand it. Similar to why they traded for Kadarius Toney, another former first-round pick. That's paying dividends right now. He looks really good when he's on the field. So look, John Ross is a guy that at the combine at the time, he broke the 40-yard record, the 40-yard dash record.
Can't coach that.
Yeah, and he's only 27 years old. So the guy is not old. So, hey, I don't see the downside of it. It doesn't work out. You're not paying him that much money anyway, so why not? So it's one of those another annoying moves for other fan bases out there. It's like, wow, the Chiefs got another weapon. I saw it on the timeline. They're going to make it work with John Ross, aren't they? Because they saw what's going on with Tony right now. So they're like, here we go again. Another speed guy, another guy that can do jet sweeps with and some gadget stuff. Get him out in space. So I love it. Why not?
I know it's way too early for this. It's January 11th, 2023. But there's John Ross and also Justin Ross, another name out there that people may have forgotten about. He had the surgery but was very viral and topical and all those things in minicamp and when Kansas City was trying to see what their wide receiver room was going to look like coming into this year. If you had to pick one of those guys for Kansas City to break through and make the roster next season, who would it be?
I mean, you got to say John Ross right now, just because I'm not sure the status of Justin Ross's health. Obviously, he had a very, very severe injury. The guy was a first-round talent and went undrafted. So that speaks volumes to me. Obviously, I'm hoping for the best because, I mean, like I said, the guy was a first-round talent. He's a big-body receiver. And if he can get anywhere close to back to where he was when he was at Clemson, that is going to be scary. So I think from a potential standpoint, he has a higher upside if I'm just going comparisons, but I just can't bank on his health because he had a very, very severe injury. So I think you have to give the edge to John Ross just because of that factor.
Finally, a coronation for Patrick Mahomes. His 2022 surely to be an MVP season, his second of his short and storied career. The numbers are as follows: 5,250 passing yards, that led the league. 41 passing touchdowns, also led the league. 105.2 rating, that was second behind Tua Tagovailoa, who didn't play as many games as him. No quarterback in league history has ever accounted for more total offense in one season than Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes. He had a 67% completion percentage and talked with the media ahead of this bye week, was asked point blank what a second and a career MVP award would mean to him and his legacy, and this is what he had to say.
I mean, obviously, the MVP award is a special award that if you get it, I mean, you'll cherish that for the rest of your life, and I will for sure. It's something that I think you look back at more at the end of the season or at the end of your career, and you think about those great times that you had. I mean, it's a trophy that symbolizes the team that was around you, and so you think about those memories you have with those guys and how you went to battle with them and were able to win a lot of football games. And so, like you said, I mean, we're focused on the Super Bowl right now and trying to get there and win it. But obviously, it'll still be a big moment in my life that I'll be able to forever remember.
I thought it was really cool. He opened up about it, and usually is not a guy that likes to talk before it's officially official, but I think we all know this one's pretty much wrapped up. And he was pretty honest. He said, hey, my first time winning the MVP, I was still kind of young. I was still just kind of experiencing the league, learning a lot of things, maybe not reading defenses, which is another thing he openly admitted to early in his career. Now you come back, you lost an AFC title game, you lost to Tyreek Hill. You come back and have an extremely successful season, one of the best of your career. And it sounds like an MVP year, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the books right now, even though I didn't even have it up, he's like minus 1,800 to win MVP. So he may win it unanimously. Like nobody else may not get a vote. You may see that happen. But yeah, I mean, he ran away with it. Obviously, Jalen Hurts got injured, missed a couple games, so it definitely increased the odds, to say the least. But I think he's going to win it regardless at that point. I mean, like you mentioned, he leads the league in total yards, passing yards, touchdowns, and a QBR as well. And the fact he had the narrative on his side, right, before the year, no Tyreek Hill, is he going to regress? The AFC West going to be the best division, most talented. So when you have all those narratives before the year, and we know it's a narrative award, that obviously helps as well. So now I don't think there's going to be any more questions about Mahomes moving forward, no matter who's on the roster, because as long as he's there and you have anybody out there, you got me and you out there playing wide receiver, Aaron, I think we can catch some passes out there, especially if Andy Reid's designing the plays. I think he can scheme us open. So yeah, man, incredible year. And the main thing for me, this separates him even further from his peers, right? People try to compare Josh Allen to him, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. Neither one of those guys have an MVP, let alone a Super Bowl. He's going to have 2 MVPs with the potential of having a second Super Bowl. If he gets 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs, no longer compare any of those guys to Patrick Mahomes until further notice.
Yeah, that's rarefied air, and we'll see what happens with the voting process there, and obviously the road to Arizona and Kansas City's pursuit of the Lombardi Trophy. Let's jump into a playoff preview here.
Stop it. Stop it. You can't do this. You can't escape. You can't make these plays. You can't make these throws.
Come on, give us a sneak preview.
Chiefs preview.
Obviously, no game this week. Kansas City, the number 1 seed in the AFC, so they'll sit back and watch what is now called Super Wildcard Weekend. Here's some numbers on the 1 seed. This is from ESPN Stat and Info. Andy Reid clinches the 1 seed for the 6th time as a head coach. Only Bill Belichick has clinched the 1 seed more since it was first instituted, and he has 7. Hashtag don't take it for granted. And then I crunched a few numbers on the last 10 number 1 seeds in the AFC. 3 of them lost the first game they played. 1 of them lost in the AFC title game. 3 lost in the Super Bowl, and 3 won the Super Bowl. So you can see the value of the 1 seed there for Kansas City. I know it looks different this year, and I know there's potential to head back to the Great Peach State for the AFC title game.
You would love that, wouldn't you?
Oh, hey, I saw that come across. well, like, here's the thing. I saw Vegas, so I was like, okay, bet. And then I saw Pittsburgh, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, can we figure out what's going on? So Atlanta is a perfect happy medium. Bob Fesco here, 610 Sports Radio in Kansas City locally, is using his sources to report that it could be Atlanta. Pro Football Talk has said that it'll get nailed down at some point this week. Does that really, I mean, does it matter? It does to an extent, I guess, for fans, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's in Vegas, Bills fans would be upset. I mean, we just saw what the Chiefs Kingdom did in Vegas a couple of days ago. It's not that far. Buffalo, they'll be coming all the way from the Upper East, the travel to Vegas. So that would be an unfair advantage. Like you say, I do think Atlanta is the happy medium here because Indianapolis already denied it because they have some other event going on that same weekend or whatever. They want no conflict, and they probably can't handle the traffic that would all be ensued there. So talk about a perfect dream for a kid from Georgia. I mean, if you can have the team that you're covering in your hometown, I mean, you'll be back home and working at the same time. I mean, could you ask for a better setup for Aaron Ladd?
Let's hope Kansas City. I don't want to touch the money, man. I don't want to be the guy that's on the pod, especially after last year. Be like, oh, I can't wait till we get to Atlanta, yada yada yada. And I don't want to touch the money. Atlanta sounds like it'll be the host site for the AFC title game, which Atlanta does a great job hosting a bunch of events.
But this is only if it's Chiefs Bills, though. Only
correct. Yes.
Because the Bills could very well go. Like,
so there's still a lot up in the air potentially. Don't want to touch the money, but that's what the reporting is as of this moment. You mentioned Georgia. How about former Georgia wideout Mecole Hardman not going in Week 18 after all of the arrows and the signs seemed like they were pointing in the right direction? He gets brought up from IR. Andy Reid says it was kind of a misunderstanding on his part, but feels like the bye week will do him justice, as well as Frank Clark, who was unable to finish in that Vegas game. Let's hear from Andy Reid as far as Frank Clark's status headed into the bye week.
Thanks. After his MRI, the groin looks like it's more of a mild one, and he should be able to return after a little rest that we have here.
The most important part of the number 1 seed to me has always been the bye week, and it seems like Kansas City is already relatively healthy and could be getting healthier.
Yeah, 100%. You got a little knick-knack injuries here and there that could use an extra week to rest. So, yeah, very vital. Then obviously the fact that you only have to win 2 games versus 3 to reach it to Glendale, Arizona is also a major factor as well. I mean, you just got to win 1 game to make it to your 5th straight AFC Championship game, man. And it's going to be an Arrowhead. That first game will be an Arrowhead. So talk about an incredible run that they could potentially go on and keep going, right? And then obviously the end goal for them is to reach the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. But obviously to get there, you want to have the bye to increase your odds, and get healthier. So I do expect McCole Hardman to be back and ready to go. And talk about other dimension you have to worry about in the red zone. We're talking about McKinnon, right?
Yeah.
And this has been without Hardman in the lineup. And then obviously Kelsey gets a lot of attention. And now if you got to worry about Tony as well and McCole Hardman, I mean, pick your poison.
I would be more concerned about Frank Clark missing time. Obviously, you want Kansas City to be as healthy as possible. We've seen what the Chiefs were able to do without Hardman. And obviously, he was on injured reserve with the abdomen injury. They found a way to spread the ball around, even through Travis Kelce's touchdown drought. McKinnon emerges. Justin Watson continues to show his spot play and his ability and his value. Frank Clark, though, I think the unit benefits more from him being out there. He's been healthy this year. Let's just call it for what it is. A lot of the stomach issues and a lot of the stuff that has plagued him in the past, he's found a way to work through that, whether it was the liquor that he said he quit drinking or cut out red meat or whatever. Frank Clark, his leadership, his guidance of George Karlaftis, who's come on extremely strong throughout the year. You talked about this unit being second in the league in sacks. Frank Clark has been a big reason why he's been a changed player, and hopefully he's healthy and ready to go through that groin issue for Kansas City in the divisional round. Let's go to Vegas.
Place your bets.
Oh, there it is. There it is. 2 touchdowns. Win by at least 2.
Let's go to Vegas with Mark.
Hey, for those not watching, for those audio only, Mark, his hand is in his hand. He's looking up to the sky, questioning what has gone wrong. He's lethargic. He's disappointed. And it's because he's 0-6 over the past 2 weeks. Another tough week for Mark in week 18. I thought this was a good slate. I thought these were good picks. When you texted the group and said, I got my butt beat, I'm like, really?
Yeah, I mean, back-to-back 0-3 weeks, man. It's rough.
When you needed it the most, too, in crunch time.
Yeah, man. I'm 6 games under 500 now?
Yes, Mark's season total is 20-27, actually.
Gosh, my gosh, that's ugly. That's ugly. These last 2 weeks have really, really just contaminated my whole year. For the most part of the year, I've been hovering around 500, or I was a little bit above at one point. And these last 2 weeks just really, really been bad, man. Not playing clean football on my end. I'm turning the ball over a lot.
Coach speak. Here we go.
I think I need the bye week too, man. So I'm not making no plays on all other games this weekend. I'm taking the bye as well with the Chiefs.
You're taking a bye? You didn't earn the bye, right? Like, you're under 500. If anybody's playing a wild card weekend, it should be you. I don't know how you're taking a bye. But that's fine. We here at Chiefs Coast to Coast have gone to the bullpen. And instead of Vegas with Mark, it's going to be Vegas with Ladd this week. Here comes the ISO, baby. Here we go. I have 3 plays courtesy our friends at DraftKings from our AFC slate. I'm going to do my best Mark Gunnels impersonation. Here we go. So first off, we're here in the Jacksonville in the Chargers game. And I just can't trust LA. I cannot trust Justin Herbert in the playoffs. We saw Brandon Staley playing his starters last week. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We thought he was a boy genius. He's no longer a boy genius, and he's proven us to that. The spread is 2 points. I'm taking Jacksonville to win outright. That is my first
money line. Not taking the points.
Money line. Jacksonville wins outright.
Okay.
Secondly, I'm going to the Baltimore Ravens game. This is a team that still doesn't know what they're doing with their quarterback. Lamar Jackson hasn't played in a very long time. I saw the report today from Jordan Schultz. Sounds like the knee is still very swollen and he is facing an uphill battle to play for the Baltimore Ravens. This is an offense that is predicated on running the football. This is the time of year where if you run the football effectively, you win games and you advance into the next round. I expect Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins to hit the under. Oh, man, I read that wrong. I screwed that up. I read that wrong. I got the under on J.K. Dobbins. I got the under on J.K. Dobbins rushing yards. I think the Bengals are going to pull away. I think the Ravens are going to have to play from behind and play catch up.
What's the number? What's the number on the yards?
61.5.
Okay.
I don't think he hit 61.5.
Okay.
J.K. Dobbins. I think they're going to have to play from behind. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. It's going to be Anthony Brown. Is it going to be Tyler Huntley? I don't think it's going to be Lamar Jackson. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to be game scripted out of the 61.5. That's the late game on Saturday. So that's my second pick. J.K. Dobbins under. Sunday, excuse me. 61.5. I'm all rattled. See, this is. I see why you don't get the picks. Because this I see why you don't get the picks. It's different here in Vegas, man. I'm rattled.
All right, what's your third one, man?
My third one, I'm staying with the running backs, but it's in the Buffalo game. This is the third one. This is Miami-Buffalo. It sounds like it's going to be Skylar Thompson, Fort Osage product here out in the Kansas City area. K-State product, obviously, leading the Dolphins into what is a divisional matchup here in the playoffs. I think that Buffalo is going to get out and lead this one from the jump. I think this one is not going to be close. I think Miami's going to be playing behind for a lot, and I think Buffalo is going to have to salt this game away with the run game. James Cook, who is a running back who has come on late and has kind of been the second-tier guy to Devin Singletary there. He is their two-headed monster to that one. The number is just too low. Mark, the number is just too low. 36.5 rushing yards. It's too low. You could get that on one. In the words of Mark Gunnels, he could get that in one play.
You can.
So these are my plays here. Aaron Ladd's wild card weekend picks. Jacksonville money line. They'll be playing the Chiefs next week. J.K. Dobbins under 61.5 rushing yards. James Cook over 36. What you think of my slate? This is new for me.
Yeah, actually, I like your plays. The logic behind them all makes sense. I think the biggest questionable one is going to be the Jaguars one. I think your running back plays are really, really solid. I like those a lot. I got the Jags winning too, but that'll be my least confident out of your three picks.
Well, this is what we're gonna do at the end of the year. I'm gonna stack my 3 picks and my record up against your 300 picks and your record. And then...
That's not fair.
Oh, a couple questions here on Chiefs Coast to Coast. Appreciate y'all rocking with us. Ryan's been very active on YouTube, but so has Walter. Walter says, how do we overcome Buffalo? The story is written for a Bills Super Bowl win after the Hamlin injury. It does kind of seem like they are, and watching that kick return, special moment. Absolutely incredible special moment. It's good to see the latest update from him coming in here on Wednesday, that he's discharged not only from a Cincinnati hospital, but also a Buffalo hospital, and is back at home in his apartment in Buffalo. It does seem like that win specifically, I don't know going forward if that momentum carries on, but there's a little something special in that juice in Buffalo. Yeah,
no, 100%. And they have that emotional lift. And obviously it's a lot easier when you have a really good team as well. Like this is a team that was the favorites before the year to win the Super Bowl. So, when you add that on, obviously it's going to be tough to beat them. They're going to have a home game this weekend and then next weekend too, when they most likely want to play the Bengals. So they should probably, it's going to be tough. They should probably be in the AFC title game, but that Bengals game is going to be very, very interesting, especially considering we didn't get to finish it the first time, but this time it's going to be in Orchard Park. So I'm really looking forward to that game, especially because it's going to be that matchup, because the Bills are playing Skylar Thompson and the Bengals are playing Tyler Huntley. They're both going to advance. We're going to get that matchup and settle it once and for all.
816-514-1267 is our voicemail line. Serta tells me we got one already. Let's play it. Let's do it.
Hey, gentlemen, how about those Chiefs? Man, I'm excited about this one. We've waited a long time to get back to what we all thought was going to happen. Remember when Patrick Mahomes was at the most grimmest point in the season last year, earlier against the Buffalo Bills? It's in the playoffs. It looks like they're about to lose. He leads them back. He gets the moniker the Grim Reaper. Kind of fell off the table there in the AFC Championship game against the Bengals. We're back. He's back. and he wants to relive that moniker for another now 3-game stretch so he can get his second ring. I think it's going to happen. I think the league screwed up and allowed this young, rebuilding team to get too hot and too good too soon. And now all it takes is that little strike of lightning. There's going to be 2 things that I hope you guys speak on that's going to help dictate how the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year. It's going to be one, the impact of Kadarius Toney on the offense in the horizontal stretch, and the other is going to be trusting these day 3 corners on some of the best receivers in football. I think if those 2 things come together for him in real time, guys, we're looking at a potential, the beginning of the dynasty. Savor the flavor.
Savor the flavor checking in. Appreciate that one. He's doing his best Mark Gunnels impersonation. You might have some sons out here, my guy. You might have a legacy that you're leading.
Hey, that was the best voicemail we've gotten so far, by far.
Serta said the same thing.
It's not even close. The passion, the detail, it was lengthy, not too long though. It was just long enough. He hit all the key points there. Yeah, that was the best one, man. I want more voicemails like that one. Follow the lead on that. Great job, man. Love the passion. Let's bring the Grim Reaper back, like he said, baby.
But what do you think about what he said? I'll chime in. He said the 2 most important things in the playoffs, and this will be the last thing before we head out here on episode 40. He said the 2 most important things would be Kadarius Toney stretching the field and then the young cornerbacks. To me, the most important thing for Kansas City in the playoffs, and this is just playoff football in general, is executing in the red zone. If you look at that AFC title game, that was the difference between winning and losing for Kansas City in that game. Going into halftime, going into the series going into halftime, you don't get points. The series at the end of regulation, you only get a field goal instead of a touchdown. Those two games decided the game, decided the Super Bowl that year. I think if Kansas City can get 7 instead of 3, and hell, if they can get 3 times, sometimes when they weren't getting any points, when the special teams unit was going through whatever, that's the difference between winning and losing, and one of the more important things that matters to me.
Yeah, 100%. And then I'll also add on to that by saying the defensive line. You know, in that Bengals game against Joe Burrow, they had a lot of could have been sacks, right? Now this year they finished 2nd in the league in sacks, so you want to see that continue into the playoffs. You got to finish plays because those are drive killers. When you get guys into 2nd and 18 or 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, it takes teams off their script. They're off schedule. You could play a little softer coverage. You could play the sticks, and you get off the field. So they have to finish plays defensively as well.
Good episode, man. Very, very active in the chat today. Who said it was a bye week? I mean, ain't no bye week. We working through the bye. Any last thoughts before we get out of here, episode 40?
Well, if me and you are right, and I hope we are, we're going to be previewing Chiefs-Jags next week.
Chiefs-Jags preview, potentially an opportunity for Kansas City to host a 5th consecutive AFC title game. History in the making for Mark Gunnels in LA, Aaron Ladd here in Kansas City, Steven Serta behind the board, coast to coast. Out